The aluminum pan of green bean casserole was still hot through my oven mitts when I walked into my parents' dining room and saw a complete, set table with my chair missing. Nobody explained it. Nobody even blinked. And I stayed quiet so long my throat started to hurt because I needed to know what kind of people could erase you without a sound. My name is Lorelei. I am 33 years old, and I work as an assistant manager at a small neighborhood bookstore. I used to think the worst part of being the family disappointment was the way they talked to you. Turns out, the worst part is how easily they talk around you, like you are air. It was Christmas Eve at my parents' house, the kind of picture-perfect setup my mother loves. Cinnamon candles, red napkins folded like little triangles, a wreath on every door, fake snow sprayed on the windows. She always treated holidays like performances, and I was always the stagehand, the one who set the scene and disappeared. I came early because she demanded it. Early enough that the streetlights were still on, and the neighborhood was quiet except for the occasional car rolling past with gift bows on the roof. I balanced the casserole in one hand and my late grandmother's recipe tin in the other, the tin I carried everywhere now like a lucky charm. When I stepped inside, the warmth hit me first, then the smell of ham and cloves, then the sound of laughter. My sister Rowan's laugh. It was bright, effortless, the kind of laugh that makes people turn toward it like flowers following the sun. Rowan stood near the tree in a cream sweater dress, one hand resting on her belly like she owned the miracle growing there. Her husband, Dominic, stood behind her with his hands on her shoulders, smiling like a man who had never doubted his place in the world. And there, at the dining table, were place cards, everyone's name in my mother's neat handwriting, every seat pushed in perfectly. Except mine. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I walked around the table once, then again. There was my father's card, my mother's card, Rowan and Dominic, aunts, uncles, cousins, even a card for my mother's friend from church who always pinched my cheek and called me sweetie without remembering my name. Then, at the end of the table, where my seat always was, I saw it. A little white card that said, in looping ink, reserved. In front of it sat a framed ultrasound photo. My stomach dropped so hard I felt it in my knees. My mother didn't look up when I said, "Where's my place?" She was fluffing a centerpiece, adjusting pine branches like she could control the universe with her fingertips. We had to rearrange. "There are enough chairs," I said. My voice sounded calm, almost polite, like I was asking where the serving spoons were. She finally turned her head and looked at me the way you look at a stain you do not feel like scrubbing. "There are enough chairs for people who belong at the table." The room went strangely quiet. Not total silence, just a careful lowering of volume, like everyone instinctively knew they were witnessing something that should not be acknowledged out loud. Rowan's smile tightened. Dominic's eyes flicked away. My father lifted his glass and stared into it as if it held answers. I waited for someone to say my name, to laugh and tell me it was a joke, to pull out a chair from a corner, to do anything human. Nobody did. So I did what I always did. I nodded. I carried my casserole into the kitchen. I placed it on the counter. I washed my hands slowly, like I had all the time in the world, even though my pulse was hammering against my ribs like it wanted out. Then I opened my coat pocket and touched the envelope I had brought with me. Not a Christmas card, not a gift, an envelope. Because for months, something had been sitting under my skin like a splinter, and I was done pretending it was nothing. 6 months earlier, my grandmother, Colette, died in a hospice room that smelled like lavender lotion and antiseptic. She was the only person in that family who ever made me feel solid, like I had weight, like I mattered. I was the one who showed up for her every Sunday. I was the one who drove her to appointments. I was the one who sat beside her when her hands shook too much to hold a teacup. My mother did not come until the last day. At the funeral, my mother sat in the front row with Rowan pressed against her side, and I stood near the back with the programs. When I tried to sit with them, my mother leaned over and whispered, "That row is for immediate family." I remember blinking like I had been slapped in slow motion. After the service, a man in a charcoal suit approached me. He introduced himself as Beckett Morris, my grandmother's attorney. His voice was gentle, careful, like he was carrying something fragile. "Your grandmother left instructions for something to be delivered to you," he said. "But there is a waiting period," she insisted. "A waiting period?" I asked. He nodded. "She said you would need time before you could face what is inside." I drove home that day with my grief sitting like wet sand in my chest, and for the first time in my life, I realized my grandmother had been planning something around my mother. That thought felt both comforting and terrifying. The envelope arrived exactly when he said it would. A thick package, sealed, my grandmother's handwriting on the front. "For Lorelei when you are ready." I did not open it right away. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't going to be a sweet letter or a recipe. It was going to be the truth, and truth is never gentle when someone has spent your whole life trying to bury it. In the weeks leading up to Christmas Eve, I started noticing patterns I had ignored for decades. How my mother watched me like she expected me to do something wrong. How my father's eyes slid past me like I was part of the wallpaper. How relatives spoke about me in that careful tone people use for bad news. She's just always been sensitive. She never really fit in. "Your mom tried so hard." I used to believe them. I used to believe something was wrong with me. Then my grandmother's envelope sat in my drawer like a dare. And 2 nights before Christmas Eve, Rowan posted an ultrasound photo online with a caption about their perfect little Christmas miracle. The comments exploded. Hearts, congratulations, people calling her glowing. My mother showed me the post like it was proof that her life had gone exactly the way it was supposed to. "Isn't she beautiful?" she said, smiling. I smiled back. I said yes. And inside, something cold clicked into place. Because my mother could not love me the way she loved Rowan. She never had. And I was done pretending I didn't notice. So I took the envelope out of my drawer, slid it into my coat pocket, and drove to my parents' house with a casserole in my hands and a storm in my chest. Back in the kitchen, my mother followed me in like she could sense the shift in the air. "What is your problem tonight?" she asked, keeping her voice low so nobody in the other room could hear. I set down the recipe tin and turned to face her. "My problem is I walked into the dining room and found my chair gone." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not do this, not tonight." "Why is there a framed ultrasound where my place should be?" I asked. I kept my tone quiet, almost curious. The quieter I spoke, the more she had to listen. Her jaw tightened. "Because that baby is our future." "And I am what?" I asked. "A mistake you keep in the kitchen." Her face flickered. Not anger, not annoyance. Fear. And that was the first micro twist, the one that made my skin prickle. My mother was not just cruel. She was scared. She leaned closer. "You are going to ruin Christmas." I nodded slowly, like I understood. "Okay." That word, "okay," made her shoulders loosen. That was my second micro twist. She thought I was surrendering. She thought she had won again. She turned away to check the ham, and my father appeared in the doorway, holding a glass of wine like it was an excuse to stand there. "What's going on?" he asked without looking at me. My mother smiled instantly, sweet as frosting. "Nothing. Lorelei is just tired." My father's gaze finally landed on me, and it was the same look he'd worn my entire childhood. A look that said, "Please do not make me deal with this." Something rose in my throat. Not a scream, not a sob. A question. And the answer was in my pocket. I walked past them into the dining room, carrying the casserole like an offering no one deserved. People were taking seats, laughing, passing drinks. A cousin waved at me without saying my name. I placed the casserole on the buffet table and looked at the dining table again. The reserved card, the ultrasound, my erased space. My mother lifted her glass to begin a toast. "To family," she said. "To blessings, to new beginnings." Everyone echoed her. My hands slid into my coat pocket. My fingers found the envelope. I waited until the room settled, until my mother's smile was at its widest, until my father's posture relaxed into that comfortable numbness. Then I walked to the head of the table and placed the envelope gently in front of my father's plate. No yelling, no shaking hands, just a soft, deliberate motion. My mother's smile faltered. "What is that?" I looked at her and I kept my voice calm enough to scare her. "A Christmas gift, the truth." Her eyes widened, just a fraction, but I saw it. I saw recognition. My father stared at the envelope like it was something poisonous. And right then, before he touched it, before anyone could stop what was coming, I felt the whole room tilt. Quick real-life pause. Some nights I edit these stories and it gets lonely, but your comments remind me real people are listening. Like, subscribe and drop your city and country. All right, now let me take you back. Because the truth didn't start at that table. It started the day my grandmother pulled me close in her kitchen, years ago, and whispered, "Your mother doesn't hate you for who you are, sweetheart. She hates you for what you remind her she did." On Christmas Eve, with my father's fingers hovering over that envelope, I finally understood what she meant. My father slid the flap open. My mother went very still. And the first page inside was not a letter. It was a lab report. And at the top, in bold, clinical language that made my stomach flip, it said one thing that explained my entire life. The man at the head of the table was not my biological father. My father's face drained of color as he read the first page. His hands trembled, not violently, just enough to give him away. The kind of shake you get when your body understands something your mind has been avoiding for decades. "What is that?" Rowan asked, standing halfway out of her chair. Her voice had that sharp edge she used when something threatened her spotlight. My mother reached for the papers, but my father pulled them closer to his chest, as if instinct finally kicked in after a lifetime of silence. He cleared his throat once, then again. "It's a paternity report," he said. His voice sounded older than I had ever heard it. "From a private lab." The room froze. Forks paused midair. Someone's glass clinked against the table, then stilled. "That's absurd," my mother said quickly, laughing too loudly. "Lorelei has always had a flair for drama." I did not respond. I just stood there, hands folded in front of me, like I was waiting in line at the post office. Silence was my weapon now. My father kept reading. His eyes moved slower with every line. I watched him reach the part my grandmother had highlighted in faint yellow. Probability of paternity, 0. The word 0 sat between us like a body. My father swallowed. "It says, I am not her biological father." A sharp inhale cut through the room. Aunt Seela covered her mouth. Uncle Griffin muttered something under his breath. Rowan's hand flew to her stomach as if she needed to protect the baby from the truth. "That's fake," Rowan said immediately. "She probably paid someone to make it. You know how she is. She's always wanted attention." I finally spoke. My voice was even. "My grandmother arranged the test. She collected the samples herself. She kept it sealed with her lawyer until after she died." Every eye turned to me. I felt their stares like heat lamps. For the first time in my life, I did not shrink. My mother stood so fast her chair scraped loudly across the floor. "This is disgusting," she said. "You bring this into my house on Christmas Eve." "You told me there was no room at the table," I said quietly. "So I brought my own place." My father looked up at her, really looked. "Dahlia," he said, "did you know about this?" Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. For a second, the mask cracked. Then she did what she always did. She cried. Big, shaking sobs, hands over her face. The kind of crying that usually made everyone rush to her side. The kind that ended arguments and erased accountability. But something was different this time. No one moved. She peeked through her fingers, confused, then sobbed harder. "I was young," she said. "I was scared. I made one mistake." "One mistake," Aunt Seela said, her voice sharper than I had ever heard it. "You let that child believe she was unlovable for her entire life." "That is not true," my mother snapped, dropping the tears like a switch. "I raised her." "You controlled her," Seela replied. "There is a difference." Rowan turned to my father, panic in her eyes. "Dad, this doesn't change anything. You're still my dad. You're still her dad. Families are more than blood." My father did not answer her. He was staring at me now, really staring, like he was seeing me for the first time instead of looking past me. "When did you know?" I asked him. He hesitated, then sighed. "I suspected when you were little. There were signs. I ignored them." "Why?" I asked. He rubbed his face with both hands. "Because knowing would have meant doing something, leaving, ending my marriage, and I didn't want to blow up my life. So you let me pay for it instead," I said. He nodded slowly. "Yes." The honesty landed heavier than any lie. I felt something inside me loosen, like a knot finally cut. Rowan shook her head. "This is insane. This is ruining everything." I looked at her calmly. "No, this is explaining everything." My mother rounded on me, her face flushed with rage. "You always wanted this, to humiliate me." I smiled, just a little. "No, I wanted the truth. You humiliated yourself by hiding it." She pointed at me, finger shaking. "You think this makes you special?" "No," I said. "It makes me free." My father set the papers down carefully, like they might break. "Who is her father?" he asked. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "That is none of your business." "It is my business," I said softly. "It is my life." "You will not drag him into this," she snapped. "Him." The word echoed. "So you know who he is," I said. She said nothing. That was the third micro twist. Confirmation without confession. I reached into my bag and pulled out the second envelope. Smaller, thinner. "What else did your mother leave you?" my father asked quietly. "A letter," I said, "and instructions." I unfolded the paper and read my grandmother's words aloud. Not the whole thing, just the part that mattered. "If she refuses to tell you the truth, give this to the one person who cannot ignore it." I slid the paper across the table. It was addressed to my mother's employer. Her face went pale. "What is that?" "A copy of the report," I said, "and a timeline with dates." "You wouldn't," she whispered. I met her eyes. I already did. The room erupted, voices overlapping, Rowan crying, Dominic pulling her back into her seat, my father standing, then sitting again like his legs forgot how to work. My mother stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. "You destroyed this family." "No," I said. "You built it on a lie. I just stopped carrying it for you." I picked up my coat. The casserole sat untouched on the counter. "I won't stay where I'm not wanted," I said. "But I will no longer be silent so you can stay comfortable." I walked to the door. Nobody stopped me. Behind me, I heard my father say my name. I paused, but did not turn around. "I'm sorry," he said. His voice broke. I nodded once. "I know." The cold air outside felt clean, sharp, honest. I stepped into it without looking back. The snow started falling as soon as I reached my car. Thick, slow flakes that softened the world and muffled sound, like the universe was telling me to breathe. I sat behind the steering wheel with my hands resting in my lap, not shaking, not crying, just still. Inside the house, my entire childhood was collapsing. Outside, I felt lighter than I ever had. I drove without music. I needed the silence. I did not go home. I drove to my grandmother Colette's old neighborhood, the one with narrow streets and porches that sagged with age and stories. Her house was sold months ago, but the bench she loved still sat at the small park across the street. I parked, wrapped my coat tighter, and sat there alone while Christmas lights blinked on around me in quiet windows. For the first time, I let myself feel it all. The grief, the anger, the strange relief. I thought about every moment I had tried to earn love, every holiday spent washing dishes, every apology I made for simply existing, every time I told myself my mother would soften if I tried harder. She never would have. Because I was not her daughter in her eyes, I was her consequence. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The fallout came quietly, not explosively like people expect. That was the most satisfying part. My mother did not call. She could not perform if there was no audience. My father sent one message, just one. It said, "I understand if you never forgive me. I hope you live a good life." I did not respond, not because I hated him, but because I no longer needed him to validate my pain. Rowan tried to reach me through relatives first, then through social media, then through Dominic. I ignored every attempt. Silence was no longer my weakness, it was my boundary. A week after Christmas, my mother was placed on administrative leave from work. Not fired, not yet, but investigated. The dates, the timelines, the inconsistencies, all the things she had buried under charm and control came back up calmly, professionally, without emotion. That was the revenge she never saw coming. No screaming, no confrontation, just truth delivered to the right place. I moved out of my apartment and into a smaller one near the bookstore. Less space, more peace. I donated half my clothes. I threw away things I had kept out of guilt. I framed one photograph. Me and my grandmother at the kitchen table, flour on our hands, both of us laughing. I enrolled in night classes, business management, slow and steady, no rush, no one pushing me except myself. The bookstore owner, Maeve, noticed the change before I did. "You're standing straighter," she said one afternoon as I shelved returns. "Like you finally believe you're allowed to be here." She was right. 2 months later, a letter arrived. Not from my mother. From a man named Hayes. He wrote carefully, respectfully. He said he had been contacted by a private investigator, that he had been shocked, that he did not know if he was welcome in my life, that he would understand if I never replied. I read the letter once, then again. Then I folded it and placed it in my grandmother's recipe tin. I did not rush to answer. I did not panic. I did not let curiosity turn into desperation. I took my time. Because for once, time belonged to me. In early spring, my father finalized the separation. Rowan gave birth. I heard the baby was healthy. I wished her no harm, but I did not show up. I did not send gifts. I did not perform forgiveness for comfort. I chose distance. And distance gave me clarity. One afternoon, I ran into Aunt Seela at the grocery store. She hugged me tightly, without hesitation. "Your grandmother would be proud," she said. "You broke a cycle." I smiled. She started it. That night, I finally wrote back to Hayes. 1 page, no accusations, no expectations, just honesty. I told him who I was, what I loved, what I had survived, and that I was open to meeting someday, slowly, without pressure. He replied 2 weeks later, grateful, patient, kind. We met months after that, in a cafe halfway between our lives. He brought nothing but himself, no excuses, no claims, just curiosity and respect. And for the first time in my life, I sat across from a man who looked at me without judgment or distance, not trying to own me, not trying to deny me, just seeing me. That was enough. My mother never apologized. I did not expect her to. She lost control of the narrative, and that was punishment enough. I built a new one. Today I have a table in my apartment. Solid wood, 4 chairs. I sit at it every morning with coffee and sunlight on my face. Sometimes I sit alone, sometimes with people who chose me freely. No seat is ever missing. I no longer chase belonging. I create it. And that is where my story ends.